Hello viewers, welcome to our lecture series on Indian ethos in management, and this is going to be the second part of our lectures on Indian model of management, where we discussed about where we were discussing about the Indian model of management, and specifically the context of corporate Gita was discussed, and we had a discussion on the relevant literature available on the topic, and how the Westerners, even the Western thinkers, they have also started accepting the applicability of those text, those ideas, those principles in at least 4 different dimensions of management, starting from stress management to the enlightened leadership. Continuing our discussion on the Indian model of management, now I'll be telling about the theory of society, where we are leading towards a new vision of having a sacro-civic society, that the way we have to establish a society which is sacro-civic. Now, the moment we talk about sacro-civic society, there are certain questions into our mind. They come into our mind in an obvious manner. What is this sacro-civic society? Why do we need it? How to establish a society which is sacro-civic in nature? So, for that we are going to have a discussion of this dimension here in this lecture. So, let me first tell you about the enlightened collective interest, or what you call as Lok Sangrah, which is available into our literature, and in chapter 3 shloka 20 and 25 they talk about the enlightened collective interest, where we talk about where we are collecting resources, or what you call as money or capital for the public welfare. So, the collective interest is always given, should be given priority when we talk about ensuring an organization which can sustain for long. Lok Sangrah actually implies that action should be performed keeping in view the welfare of the society as a whole. When I am working as an organization, in whatever activities I am involved, we need to ensure that while performing those duties, the welfare of society should always be given the top priority, the utmost priority, and that is called the enlightened collective interest. That we need to realize what we are doing, and the society in which we are operating, we are getting all our resources from society. The entire the production process is dependent upon the input, and inputs you are getting from the society, then you are processing it with the help of society, and eventually you are offering those products which you have produced to the society. So, the survival of your business enterprise, yours as a business enterprise, is completely dependent upon the society. So, how can we ignore society? So, we have to ensure the welfare of society, because we can only stay alive, we can only stay relevant till the society is relevant, till the society is alive. So, if the welfare of society is ensured, then in that way indirectly we are ensuring the welfare of our business enterprise indirectly. Not directly, but indirectly we are ensuring. So, actions should be guided by the enlightened collective interest and not by selfish interest, or what you call as self interest alone. We should not be guided by our own self interest or short term goals, that today I am having this goal of making a profit of this much. I want to make a profit of 10 crores in this year. This can be your short term goal, this can be your self interest, this can be your selfish interest of maximizing profit. But while doing so, while performing this, while working for attainment of this goal, you have to ensure that your actions should be guided by the enlightened collective interest. You should not look at the only goal, the profit, as the only goal. Profit can be your goal, but how to make profit, that is more important and more significant. And in the context of corporate organizations, it implies that corporate behavior should be guided by larger social interest. You should not offer a product which is giving you huge profit, but it is causing life threat to many of the people who are working in the society, who are actually very much part and parcel of society. So, if I have to draw some conclusion from this idea of the collective interest, I would say that in corporate context, it says that the behavior of ours as a company should be guided by the larger social interest. It should not be guided by our self interest or selfish interest, or what you can say as that we should not work for making profit only. And the basis for harmony in organizational context is another important aspect, for which we have a shloka which is there in the chapter 3 and in the shloka number 11, which talks about the mutuality and interdependence on and interdependence, which says that we have to actually talk about the mutuality, we have to talk about the interdependence. My survival is dependent on the others also. I can survive, I can actually, we should not talk about being competitive, we should talk about being cooperative. So rather than working for the cutthroat competition, or rather than working for eliminating our competitors, we should try to work with cooperation, we should try to cooperate with others. Mutuality and interdependence, they are key to social living, and that would actually reduce the level of stress you are going to take for eliminating your rivals. Don't consider your competitor to be your rival. There is no war, you are actually there for coexistence, and if we start thinking in that manner, we can actually sustain, we can find our own segment, because one company cannot offer product to each and every individual in this universe. So you would actually always go for segmentation, targeting and positioning. So you will find your segment if you are working, you are taking the basis for harmony in your company's context by following the rules or the path of mutuality and interdependence. And you should not look at the conflict model only as against the conflict model. In this idea we find the mutuality model, where you can find a segment where you are offering your services, you are offering your products, you are offering your ideas to your segment only, and you don't waste your energy and resources in fighting with others. Companies, they actually go for crafting a strategy of advertising or publicity which is there to eliminate their competitors. They are going to offer a price cut, not to offer benefit to the customer, but to eliminate the small business houses. That should not be the way you should work as a business enterprise. This is what this mutuality and interdependence teaches us, and this can be achieved through mutual cooperation rather than through the intensification of conflicts between various segments of a society. We should not work for creating or causing conflict in different segments of society. That is not the right path, or that is not the path, I would say, which is sustainable. So various segments of society should interact on the basis of mutuality and cooperation rather than through conflict. And imagine if you are ensuring from the very beginning, ab initio, if you are ensuring that there is no conflict between the two entities, then of course you are going to offer a very conducive environment inside the organization as well. When your subordinates find you of the a person, a leader of that nature, which talks about mutuality, who talks about cooperation, then there is no place for conflict, there is no place for conflict, and there is no place for stress in those organizations. The next issue is creating organizations which are ethical. How to create an organization which are ethical, because you cannot sustain as a business enterprise unless you are emerging as an organization which is ethical. Nowadays people ask, even the customers ask, even the stakeholders, they are very much concerned about the investors, they are very much concerned about the ethical dimension of an organization, because they know unless this organization is ethical, it cannot survive for long, it cannot sustain for long. And for that we have positive action and the theory of Nishkam Karm, what you call. We have a positive action theory which is there in chapter 2, shloka 47 and 48. And I'm not reiterating those shlokas, I'm just giving you the relevant dimension of that shloka from the perspective of management, which talks about the positive action and the theory of Nishkam Karm, which says that we should emphasize, we should put greater emphasis on positive actions, and it is an important lesson from this Gita, which I call as corporate Gita. Nishkam Karma, or what you call as action without attachment to fruits of action, is a key idea of provided in this text. Some people think that there is no fruit available, there is no outcome available if we believe into this spiritual idea. It doesn't ask you to ignore the fruits of action. It doesn't ask you to ensure that there is no outcome of your karma, your activities, your actions. It says that in the pursuit of your attainment of profit, you should not stop working. You should not only look at the outcome only. Suppose as a learner, as a student, you start looking at your result only, and you don't study, you don't work, you don't read the relevant text, you don't attend your classes, will you be able to achieve your goal of getting good marks, securing highest marks? Of course no. So this is what it says, you should start acting without attachment to the fruits of action. That that will automatically come if you start working with all your commitment, dedication, and honestly you are putting all your efforts into a specific process. There is nothing which can stop you from attainment of those goals. So the goal should be there in the back of mind. It should not become the prime focus of yours. This is what it says. So how to create organizations which are ethical? For that, we have to understand that in today's corporate context, positive action implies an emphasis on creating ethical organizations and on introducing the ethicality dimension in decision making. Whatever decisions I am taking as a manager, what is the input of ethicality? Could we include the this dimension, ethicality dimension, into our decision making process, or we are only looking for the profit? So if you really wish to create an organizations which are ethical, we need enlightened leadership for that. We need that ethical dimension into our decision making process. So whatever great persons do, as I told you at the very outset, whatever great persons do, it is followed by others. So whatever standards of actions which I am setting as a leader, that need to be sustainable, that need to be an action which everyone is willing to follow. So when we talk about the Indian model of management, and to be very specific, when we talk about the corporate Gita, we have 4 areas of management theory and practice. We have 4S model of self development and growth, and there are 4 different approaches, making it a combination of 12. So the 4 areas of management theory and practice which I told you were stress management, psycho-spiritual improvement in work environment, business ethics, and human values, and eventually we talked about the enlightened leadership. Now let us talk about the 4 areas of management theory and practice. These 4 ideas, that is called enlightened leadership, collective interest, mutuality and interdependence, positive action through nishkam karm, and enlightened leadership, they actually constitute the 4 pillars of an ideal society. You must be thinking that while talking about a business enterprise, can we take these 4 pillars which are applicable for society as a pillar for the corporate management? Of course yes, because when you are working in an organization, when you are working in a company, or you are operating as a company, it is basically having a miniature of the entire society, because you are getting input from the society itself. You are having different representation of different segments of society at one workplace. Imagine about your workplace. Just imagine about the number of people who are working into your organization. They belong to different segments and strata of the society, and in that way they are actually representing the society. So whatever is applicable for the entire society is also applicable for the business enterprise. How it is applicable, that I am going to tell you. So this entire text provides us a conceptual framework for a theory of good society, how to ensure a society which is ethical, which is sustainable. It may be indicated that this theory is not just a utopia, but it has a practical significance, as it forms the foundation for a new vision of society wherein we want the sattva gun to dominate. We want a merit of sattva to dominate. Now, what is a sacro-civic society? In the expression sacro-civic, sacro actually implies dominance of sattva. It talks about the dominance of sattva, or you can say the increasing relevance of the sattva, the sattvic good. Accordingly, a sacro-civic society is basically an evolved society. I would say a society which is not evolving in nature, but it has actually completed its journey of evolution. It is an evolved society, while a civic society is merely an evolving society. So, making a distinction between the evolving and evolved is just like making a distinction between developing and developed. Are you having a developing society? You belong to a society which is developing in nature, or you are a developed society. Likewise, are you talking about an evolving society which is actually trying to find its ways to emerge as an evolved society, or it has already evolved? So, this sacro-civic society is basically it is like an evolved society. It is not evolving in nature. And it may be mentioned here that an economically developed society is not an evolved society at all. Some people think that if your country GDP is on the higher side, if your per capita income is on the higher side, you are going to be a developed country. But what about the society? What about the social development? Those are economic parameters, and that is why it is always said that an economically developed society may not be an evolved society, and vice versa. So, if it is not moving towards the goal of being a sacro-civic society, then of course your economically developed society may still be an evolving society. You cannot call it to be an evolved society. It is indeed merely an evolving society. So, the question comes how to ensure it, how to find a society which is sacro-civic in nature. In Bhagavad Gita, we also find a 4S or 4 stages model of self-development in consonance with the requirements of today's society. We can identify those 4 stages of self development as student or learning phases. If I have to classify them into different phases, it can be like student or the learning phase where we learn. The second one is secular phase, the third one is sacro-secular phase, and the last one is spiritual phase. So, my dear learners, in a phased manner, you can emerge, you can ensure your business enterprise to emerge as a small society which is sacro-civic in nature. So, let me tell you about the student or the learning phase, what happens into those different phases. During the student phase, one is devoted to learning the life skills and values. You are actually dedicated, devoted, committed to learn the life skills and values. And during the secular phase of life, one is engaged in materialistic pursuits. You are actually looking for the material attainments like making profit, having good salary. Your employee may be busy into having good salary, or meeting out the targets to have maximum incentive. Just like you as an enterprise, you may be busy into making profit, which can actually offer the value back to the organizations or increased capital to your organization. So, during the secular phase of life, one engages in materialistic pursuits. It can be an individual, it can be a company, it can be a government, it can be a nation, it can be a society. But if we move on to the sacro-secular phase, the one starts moving beyond purely materialistic pursuits, and during spiritual phase, the focus is entirely on self discovery. Imagine that initially you learned your life skills and values, because that is needed for your survival. Then at next level you started talking about the material attainments, making profit, having good amount of sales, having your increased market share, having your goodwill in the market. That can be your goal, and we are not denying to the relevance of that also. Unless your company enjoys a goodwill in the market, how would you be able to sell your products? So, in order to ensure that you enjoy a good market share or reputation, for that we need to develop that goodwill. We need to actually earn that goodwill, I would say, and that phase is that is being done in a phased manner. So if you are evolving in nature, then of course you have to do all those things which are being taught in the traditional management principles. But what is the ultimate goal? What is the idea with which you are going to sustain? And for that you need to talk about the sacro secular, and eventually you need to talk about the spiritual phase, which focuses on self discovery, that we are going into the self. It is just like self actualization stage of Maslow's need hierarchy theory for individuals. It can be for organizations also, that you start thinking about the self actualization. That is the point where money is not at all a motivator for you. Even in your life you find a stage where the monetary incentives, they are no more a motivator for you. And that is actually the spiritual phase, where the focus is entirely on self discovery. What I am doing, for what I am making profit, for what my company is working. It is merely working for increasing the size of balance sheet, or adding capital to the balance sheet, or our company is established for something else, for earning a name. I want to establish a company which should be known for its ethical practices. Don't I wish that my company should be known as the most ethical company in the world? Of course, answer is yes. For that, this journey need to be completed. This is what we wanted to discuss here. And the framework, this framework of 4 stages, that is called student life, secular life, sacro secular, and spiritual. It is basically the concept of 4 ashrams, which is offered into our Indian model of management. It, and in individual's life, it is brahmacharya, it is grihastha, then vanprastha, and then sannyas. It is just like that. So you can find the resemblance of those 4 stages of the evolved society of your business enterprise, when we take business enterprise as a social entity. So though we are finding resemblance of these 4 ashrams into those 4 stages. And the only difference which you can find here is that one need not go to the forest during the vanprastha stage nowadays. We all understand, because this is not feasible in today's context. We won't say that in today's context you will be vanprastha means you are going to or sannyasa means you are all set to leave this world. That is not feasible in today's context, but it is actually an indicator. It is giving you a reflection, the way you should think, the way your mind should work, the way your mind should think. So one can pursue the sacro secular and spiritual ways of life living in the city itself. Even at your home you can practice, in your company you can practice, you can do that. It may be indicated here that an individual can take a quantum jump from one phase to another. Some people may skip also, that straight away from first stage to fourth stage you may travel. The living example, the live example for that is from the life of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda is an inspiring example in this segment, where he took a quantum jump from one phase to another. And because of competitive pressures of modern day living, many may not be able to move beyond the second or third stage. I am not talking about individuals only, I am talking about organizations as well. So cause it is individual who is actually activating that organization. So owing to this competitive pressure of modern day living, many people they end their life in either in the second stage or in the third stage only. And given the present day reality, the 4 stages of growth can't be purely divided into the 4 spans of 25 years each. Earlier we were finding the life of a person to be of 100 years, which is not true today. So this segmentation, there is no such watertight compartment where you find the different segments of a person's life in of 25 years span only. Even it can be less than that. So while the first phase may be for 25 to 30 years, the second phase of secular life can be for 30 to 35 years only. It can be for 5 years only, and the other 2 phases, it could be for the duration of next 10 to 15 years. If we consider the average lifespan of an individual as on date to be 80 to 90 years or 75 to 80 years. So that framework need to be revisited. This is what I would like to strongly recommend here, that if you are looking at those those principles, those guidelines of Indian model of management, we need to realize that the context also matters. We should make good use of those principles, those guidelines, those ideas in today's context. We should try to customize it, we should try to converge with that. We cannot adopt that as it is, and that is why if you will start adopting them, you will actually be put to criticism as a management practitioners. If you would try to copy them as it is, then of course you will not be able to implement that. The reason is very simple, because the context has entirely changed. Context has changed significantly. So it is possible that an individual's development may not correspondent to a person's age. There you can find a manager of 25 or 30 years age having greater amount of maturity than a manager who is at the age of 60. So an enlightenment experience may create a quantum jump from one stage to the next level, and that is actually the journey of every individual or every organization, where your journey is entirely different from that of somebody else's. The same is the case of organization. Now coming to the theory of business, which is not only, we should not be confined to the value addition only, but it should be with the values addition. I am talking about the plurality of the value, that why are you looking for the value addition from one dimension only? Why don't we talk about the values addition? From the Gita we can also envision a theory of business which is relevant for the modern context, and it can be, if I have to conclude, I would say the value addition with the values addition should be the right way. And when I say the values addition, it indicates that performance of corporate entities should be seen not merely in terms of value addition, but also in terms of values addition. Series of values need to be added. The chain of values need to be created or established. And the relevance of this entire text in corporate context, it has actually received attention of several scholars and practitioners nowadays. When I was going through the relevant literature, I could find the impetus in this direction has been provided by many spiritual teachers. I could find the many readings by different spiritual gurus as well, apart from the ideas from researchers. So additionally, scholars and practitioners, they have also contributed in this area. The published work by the management scholars and practitioners can be classified in terms of four approaches. The first approach is empirical testing. If I have to go to the Indian model of management, we can actually classify the entire discourse in four approaches. First approach is empirical testing. The second approach is corporate shlokas. Third approach is revisiting Gita, and fourth approach is new age management models. So these are four different approaches which we will discuss in the next lecture of mine, and there I will be telling you the way we look at these different approaches to understand the Indian model of management in totality. So starting from empirical testing and then ending to new age management models, that would actually be the path of understanding the Indian model of management. I hope you must have enjoyed today's lecture of mine. Thank you so much.